Shabbat Shalom.
Really loud. Invite those who can't to rise as we invite Tamara forward to lead us in the blessing over the Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Eternal God, light of the world, bless us with a perfect blessing in your presence. May you send your blessing to every home of Israel and the entire world, setting peace and eternal blessing upon all of humanity. Just as we bask in the light of the Shabbat candles, so too may we rejoice in your divine light. And as the world is made brighter by the glow of this flame, so too may the world be illuminated by the light of your Torah and mitzvot. We ask that you guide us with the light of your presence, for in your light we see light. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Continue on the top of page 2, Matova.
ואנחנו עם מרעיתו וצאן ידו, היום אם בקולו תשמעו. אשר ניסוני אבותיכם, בחנוני גם רעוף עליהם. אשר נשבעתי באבים יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. There you go. It's not too loud now. So this past Monday, it's a pretty magnificent day for a lot of people. Not so much for us here in London, but speaking with a number of friends and family in the States, specifically in Cleveland, where my family is. That total solar eclipse was a big deal. And my brother told me that his kids had school off that day, so they were able to hang out at home for the entire day, even though it was only a little 45-minute window that really mattered. But nonetheless, my brother and his wife got to hang out with the kids all day. And my mother was able to get out from work, my father as well. And it sounded like everybody was having this fantastic time looking up at the sky during the day. And of course, on Tuesday night and Wednesday, there were millions and billions of people around the world looking up at the sky to say, oh, this is another significant moment, maybe not so much a solar eclipse, but to see that there's a new moon. And so the end of Ramadan and the festival of Eid to take place. And then for us, I've been looking up at the sky, when I can see the clouds, and thinking, damn you, why is it getting fuller and fuller? Because it means we are less than 2 weeks away from Passover. Right? It's coming up. The idea that time is slipping past us, and we look at the natural world, and it reminds us springtime is here, and we're getting even closer to Passover. And so it seems like we can't get control of time. But that's the blessing of Shabbat, though, is that despite all those other things and all the things we have to do, have to buy this food for Pesach, and I have to get the dishes out of storage, and I have to clean, and have to do whatever it is, right? Shabbat comes and tells us, no, you don't have to. Right? This is a chance to just be able to sit and relax and put aside all those errands, all those have-tos, and just be present with those who matter most to you, even if it's just yourself and spending that time with yourself. So I invite you to just put out of your mind as much as you can. And of course, now that I say it, all those things that you have to do are probably now going to come to mind. Try to put those out of mind and just allow yourself to be fully present and allow the music of our service to really to center you and allow that to ground you in this present moment. We'll continue our service on the top of page 4 with Lecha Dodi. And when we get to the final stanza, we'll rise and turn to the door to greet the Sabbath bride.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמי הנו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור המרחה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה.
Continue, it's customary after Lechadodi to formally acknowledge and welcome into the space those who are in a period of mourning. And so we turn to Koren and we send you the traditional greetings that with which we receive those who are mourning, having just lost your sister Anne. We say, Hamakom Yenechem Etchem, B'toch Sha'ar V'lei Tzion V'Yerushalayim, may the Holy One comfort you amongst all those who are mourning. That you may be seated. We will continue at the bottom of page 4.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת. Adonai malach, Gehut lavesh Adonai, Os itazar, Aftikon tevel, Bal tibot, Nachon kisacha mehaz, Meholam ata, Nasehu leharot Adonai, Nasehu leharot kolam, Nasehu leharot kolam, Olatzmo imrave, Aver leshvrei, Aver bamarom, Vedutecha nehemu meod, Lebeitcha nava kodesh.
We rise on page 6 for Baruch.
Baruchu et Adonai Mevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך על יום ועת, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, והם נגע יומם ולילה, והבטך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem emet. Ki hu Adonai הפודר מיד מלאכים. המעביר בניו בן גזרי ים סוף, וראו גבורתו, שיבחו והודו לשמו, ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליכם. משה ובני ישראל החלו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך להר הקודש, מלכותך ראו בניך פוקע ים לפני משה זה לי ענו ואמרו ונאמר כי פדה אדוני אל יעקב גלום יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אלוהינו לשלום. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה בהלמה דיברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
Silent Amidah begins on page 12.
רצון אמרי פי וגיון ליבי לפניך לפניך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
All right, while you drink that, I'm going to bless you and say, may God bless you and keep you safe. May God smile upon you and be good to you. And may God always be there with you and give you a true sense of peace in your life. And we all say, Amen. You can put that down and return to your parents. You all may be seated. This week's Torah portion, Tazria, it's one of those Torah portions that we wish we could just kind of skip. I felt really bad for my nephew. This was his Torah portion a couple years ago. And having a 13-year-old boy talking about women and childbirth and menstruation was not necessarily, up his street. But not only that, there's kind of unsettling, troubling language that's employed throughout this Torah portion. Specifically at the very beginning of the parsha, the word tazria means to bear fruit, or in this case, to conceive. And Torah begins by saying, Isha ki tazria v'yalda zachar v'tama shivat yamim ki me nidat dvota titma. So when a woman conceives and she gives birth to a son, she shall be ritually impure for 7 days, just like the days of her menstrual infirmity. She shall be impure. So just right off the bat, we're given these two concepts that seem really unsettling. One is that if a woman gives birth, that in of itself renders her ritually impure, and that also ties into this idea of menstruation making somebody ritually impure. It doesn't really sit right. And then when we keep reading, we'll actually see that if she gives birth to a daughter, her ritual impurity is actually doubled, which seems even crazier and seems even more sexist. And what's going on here? What's up with this patriarchal society that Judaism is trying to establish for us? And not only that, but we're told that this woman has to sit outside of, not necessarily outside of camp, but she has to separate herself from others. She's not allowed to be in physical contact with her husband. Anything that she touches, sits on, or wears becomes ritually impure. It's troublesome, to say the least. That is, until we keep reading the Torah portion, and we get to another troubling section, the section that talks about the condition of tzara'at, which is often translated as leprosy, but isn't leprosy. It's some other skin affliction. Right? And we're told that similarly, somebody who is suffering from tzara'at, they are rendered ritually impure. They have to be separated from others for a period of at least 7 days, and oftentimes multiples of 7. Anything they touch or wear, anything they happen to spit on, also becomes ritually impure because of their status. It's crazy. That's just all it is. And then next week, as we continue reading into Parshat Mitzorah, because Tazria and Mitzorah are in some years doubled up. This year they're separated because it's a leap year. We had an extra month. But next week we'll learn that the status of ritual impurity does not only apply to a woman following childbirth, for those suffering from skin affliction, but also to men who have a nocturnal emission, or anybody following the act of intercourse. Right? It's crazy. These are two wild Torah portions. So I want to know, what is the connection? What is it about these four states that would have somebody be rendered ritually impure? I think to find an answer, we first have to look closer at the language that's employed in the Parsha, beginning with the term for this menstrual infirmity. The phrase is nidat devotah. Right? So the word nidah, according to the commentator Ibn Ezra, the root of the word is nadad, nun dalad dalad, which implies the meaning of wandering or separating oneself by a distance, which makes sense because the idea that a woman following childbirth or in a state of menstruation has to be distanced from others because of the state of ritual impurity. The word devotah is a plural from the word dava, and that implies the word illness. But Rashi points out that this word devotah, from the word dava or dav, is the exact same word that's used for someone with nocturnal emissions. So this is where it gets a little weird. When you go from Hebrew to Aramaic, zayins and dalits can be interchanged, and vavs and vets can be interchanged. Right? So the word dav can become zav. Four completely different letters, but with the exact same etymological connection, because Aramaic and Hebrew are closely related, but either way. So this idea of dav, of this menstrual infirmity, and zav, of having an emission, they are connected. And the word zav, you also know from Eretz zavat chalav, chalav udvash, right? The land flowing with milk and honey. Zav means something that flows out. Right? So, and nizdamen also is something kind of flowing. And so, and you see all these letters connected in this one place. The idea is that blood flows out along with other excretions during childbirth, as other fluids flow out of the body with other conditions. But this word nidah, not just looking at the dav or devotah, but the word nidah, we tend to think of it solely as applying to women, if we think about the term, as applying to women in menstruation. However, a couple weeks ago, when we were reading Parshat Parah, we read from the book of Numbers where it says that one who touched a corpse and had not yet cleansed themselves remains ritually impure because the nida waters have not been sprinkled upon him. Ki mei nida lo zorak alav. So these nida waters. So somebody who's touched a corpse, could be male or female or not gender, not non-binary, it doesn't matter. That person is rendered ritually impure. And the word is nidah, the exact same word that applies to menstruation. So nidah is not a gendered concept, but rather it must imply something having to do with the idea of death. So what then brings us back? That brings us back to the connection between these ideas of childbirth and skin affliction, nocturnal emissions and sex. What is this connection then with death? And so with birth, we realize there's this chance of infant mortality, especially in the ancient world. Right? The infant mortality rate was exceptionally high. And so there was a good chance that that baby would not make it past a week, which is why when there's a brit milah, a bris, it happens on the 8th day to ensure the feasibility of that child. Similarly, you have the blood and embryonic fluid that might come out in childbirth, and those would represent loss of life-sustaining fluids. If somebody has a skin affliction, there's a chance that wound could become more deeply infected. It could become gangrenous, and in the ancient world, that could also lead to death. Nocturnal emissions, there's an unfulfilled chance to conceive, and therefore death. And with the act of intercourse, there's always a chance of death with a fetus, with an embryo. That it could be an unfulfilled conception, there could be miscarriage, it could be stillbirth, there could be, again, infant mortality. So it appeared that the concern between this week's Parsha and next is about coming in contact with, having a brush with death. Something that has always been, and even today, though less so, remains mysterious, it's inexplicable, it's fear-inducing. And so the tradition tries to erect, no pun intended, tries to erect these policies and procedures to protect us from harm. Now that today these concerns might not apply so much, but what this otherwise troubling Parsha reminds us is just how precious life is. For as random as it is that we enter this world, our departure can be equally arbitrary and unexpected. And so we must appreciate the gift of every moment and never take life for granted. Shabbat Shalom. I invite those who can to rise as we turn back in the Siddur to page 22 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל ההמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בקובי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו הנות, אמת מלכנו, אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות האלה בבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינות. על כן נקבלך אדוני אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר.
Hold in our thoughts and our prayers this Shabbat all the lives lost on both sides of the border to the conflict this past week. We also mourn the passing this past week of Ingeborg Lesser, the mother of Jackie, Anne Fenton, sister of Corin, and Jutta Benton, the grandmother of Benji. We also hold in our thoughts and our prayers and honor the memory of all those we've lost in years past. Ilsa Guns, Jean Beecham, Monty Grossman, Rose Pomper, Erwin Joffe, Barbara Saratsky, Ray Grossman-Byrne, Hedwig Wolkenstein, Carol Viner, Jillian Silvera, Stephen Heller, Kay Schreier, Herta Wilton, Alan Cohen, Pearl Arjband, Dora Samuelson, Bernard Katz, Anna Carey, Frida Hausler, and Louis Schneider. But all those who have a need or desire to say Kaddish to join me on page 24 in Kaddish Tom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'alma divra chirutei v'amlich machutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon v'chayed echol beit Yisrael v'agala uv'zman kariv v'meru amen yehei shmei rabba mavarach v'alam omei amaya v'yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shmei d'kudsha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imiru amen. Yehi shlama rabba shemaya, v'chaim alenu be'al kol Yisrael v'imiru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, u'yaseh shalom alenu be'al kol Yisrael v'imiru amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens above make peace for us, for all of Israel, and for all of humanity, and let us say, amen. You may be seated. A few brief announcements before we conclude our service with Yigdal on page 26. Were Anthony and Peter out there on security as you are coming in tonight? Anybody know? Well, on your way out, please say thank you to whoever is on security. Tamara, thank you for leading us in blessing the candles, and wish you and Bruce a happy anniversary tomorrow. And Watmans, thank you so much for welcoming people in as they entered. Really appreciate it. We miss the full family, but it's lovely having the three of you. It's great. Tomorrow morning services, 10 a.m. as usual. Nothing unusual about services tomorrow. We only have a regular Torah reading and a regular Haftarah. That's always nice for us. Though after services, we'll have we're starting up again our monthly Lunch and Learn. And so Cantor Heller will lead some singing, and I will lead some teaching. The theme now is Hidden Yidden. We're exploring the underappreciated influence of Jewishness on shaping Western culture. And so tomorrow we'll be looking at visual arts. And so folks like Frida Kahlo, or Alexander Calder, or Marcel Brewer, and others, or a lot of other names. We're going to explore and see some kind of Jewish teachings that might apply to it as well, and explore aspects of these artists' Jewishness and how that may or may not have informed their work. And if you can't be with us in person, you can also live stream it at synagogue.org.uk/lunchandlearn. Pretty easy. On Sunday, in the morning, the normal time of Cheder, but instead of starting at 9:45 for students, it'll be at 10 o'clock. We have our chocolate Seder. So that'll be from 10 till midday. It's open to everybody. And Cantor Heller and I will lead a very tasty chocolate Seder for our students. And if parents want to come, I mean, we're not going to kick you out, but any kids can come, any students, whether they are enrolled in Cheder or not, whether members of Belsize or not. So it'd be great having some folks there. And then there is adult discussion group in person in the library as well as online. And so the information for that is in the handout as well as, I believe, on the website. On Sunday afternoon at 4:15, there'll be a choral concert, and the angels sing. It's a celebration of choral music in memory of the late Hani Levin. It's going to be Sunday at 4:15. It's the final event of the European Cantors Association Festival, and it will be here at Belsize, and will feature music from Cantor Heller, our professional choir, the community choir, and the Zemel choir. And again, you can get tickets online. But if people don't get tickets online, can they get them at the door as well? You can get tickets at the door as well. And then next Shabbat is Shabbat Hagadol. So if you have questions about Passover, how to do a certain thing in prepping a home, or do you really need to buy X, Y, Z, whatever it might be, come prepared to ask questions in services, or email office@synagogue.org.uk, and they'll pass the question on to me, and I will share answers at services. Since there's traditionally no sermon on Shabbat Hagadol, just, it's next week, right? Yeah? Next Shabbat. Yeah, it's crazy. It's way too soon. Darn you, moon. Okay, so Seder does start on Monday night, the 22nd. Our communal Seder is on Tuesday night, the 23rd. We already have, I think, over 80 people signed up for our Seder. I'm not sure if we have space left, but if you really need a place, if you really would like to join us, call the office on Monday, and they'll be able to let you know. And after, we got other events happening in May. Cantor Heller is starting up an online class, a Zoom class. And then we also have our Israel charity dinner. That information is going to be in the handout as well as in our emails and on the website. So with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and conclude with the Yigdal, page 26.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.